The cities are awash with crime, drugs, sexual predators, and the country is just trees and flowers. It's not really true. Welcome back to Macedon Ranger's Voice with your host, Big Daddy O. I heard a thing a while ago, and I have freaked people out with this one. They said life in the country, it's a mix of football, netball, alcoholism, and teenage pregnancy. Well, we haven't had the teenage pregnancy yet. Anyway, that's a bit of a joke, I think. No, life in the country's got all the hazards. There's so many more, in fact. You have to drive so much further. You're exposed to some rotten road conditions. When the weather really gets bad, particularly in country Victoria, you got rain coming down in sheets and you've got to drive 20 k's at a time when you just don't want to. At a time when it's dangerous to do so. At a time you should be in bed. Instead you're driving in the rain, on your way home or on the way out. I've done both. There's also the simple, dangerous things around the house that you have. You know, you have dams, ponds. You can drown in them. Then you have chainsaws, chopping up pieces of wood, trees that fall on you, axes, dangerous knives to cut things. I cut my thumb off once. It's a true story. I was showing my son how to, I guess, not cut. I was using a kitchen knife. I noticed that he wasn't paying attention. No, I didn't cut him, but I was just flicking the knife. And I was cutting these canes because I was making a little bit of a wicker hedge. You know, it's quite nice. Anyway, I had the canes and I was cutting them, and I was, trying to draw his attention in. Anyway, in that process, I ignored where the knife was going, and it went straight through my hand. It's a pretty gory story, and sure enough, it looked awful. And I'd cut 2 tendons, and basically my thumb was hanging off, dangling in the wind. That's where I met my hand surgeon, who put my hand back together, and it works beautifully. I also met a hand therapist. She was fantastic. She told me that I had the strongest hands of anyone she's ever met, which I thought she might have been lying about. I don't know. I managed to pull 65 kilograms with both my hands. Apparently that's a lot. They say that if your hand strength is a good measure of how long you're going to live. I don't know whether it actually works when you're in your 50s, but that's what they do. It's some kind of test when they go around the old people's home with a little hand measuring testing thing, and they say, oh, grip this, and they can virtually calculate when you're going to die. It's kind of like grip on life stuff. Anyway, we're not talking about that. That's aged care. How do we get there? Well, we'll get there eventually. So I'm imagining if the series keeps going, or if I end up on a new series called Aged Care, or I end up in aged care. Anyway, before we get there, I was talking about dangerous country, living and the dangers. The other thing which I noticed about the country, they like to feed you food that's probably going to kill you a little bit earlier. There's this thing, it's called sausages and bread. I mean, it's the stuff you get at Bunnings. I know everyone who goes to Bunnings at least once in their lifetime, if they're not a vegetarian, has tried a bread and sausage. But I found that became like a staple diet for my children for quite a while. I wasn't feeding it to them. Just every event we'd go to, that's what they were given. You know, the adults would get the steak or the veggie burgers or whatever. And the kids would have these sausages, but usually burnt sausages, wrapped in a white piece of bread with tomato sauce. And that was kind of like, there's your food. Eat it. Well, now that'll just kill you, won't it? This one of the things is I guess there's drinking everywhere, but, you know, in the country, to me, it does seem like it is far more common to have, I guess parties where people just sit around and drink. And, it's common. And that sort of ended up being, what most people do on a Saturday night or Friday night often, get together. And I know other people did it too. I know my brother, who lives in a big smoke, that's what they did too. When they had little kids, they'd say, oh, what are you doing tonight? Oh, we'll come over, have a bottle of Chardonnay or something, And we do the same. So maybe it's not just the country. But the country presents another dangerous situation, which is unsupervised children in large amounts of land, or even small amounts of land, but in ways that they can get away with doing things that they should not be doing. Now, some people would say being unsupervised and running around wild is the whole reason you came to the country. But there are many documented cases, unfortunately, where children have ended up, not so well off, shall we say, due to being unsupervised or poorly supervised. And it's something to watch out for in any situation, but it does seem to happen in the country a lot. And it's also the thing where kids can drive cars around their properties, like that would seem to be a harmless thing. There's been a few accidents where people have done silly things and hit each other and run into each other or run over each other. That's not the sort of thing that happens in the big smoke. If your garden is about 50 metres by 50 metres, that's like you're not going to get up to much speed in your car. But when you've got 20 acres, yeah, you can hit the boot and go. So, yes, be very warned. Life in the country can be quite unsafe. So don't be fooled. The country's not amazingly safe. And there's probably all the drugs and crime as well too. So, stay safe out there, and why don't you have a great day. Thank you for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Did you know I make one of these for almost every day? I know, I sometimes miss a day or two. I've got to have a break sometime, right? And sometimes I get busy doing other things. But anyway, let's ignore that. If you don't want to miss one of these episodes, then you have to subscribe. It's free. It's fun and it's real. You just have to go to YouTube and you press subscribe. And you will be notified, if you like it or not, that another episode has been released. I try and let them go at 6:30 almost every day. So why don't you subscribe now? There's a link below in the description. Then you will have a great day.